If you could only see the way she loves me, maybe you would understand.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. Tis I, Captain Logan. And joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello DJ.
Hello sir, how's it going?
And special guest tonight is my good buddy once again, Aaron Hickman. Hello Aaron.
Hey there.
What's up, man? What has been new since last we spoke live, sir?
I don't know. I think someone put a ring on it.
Yeah,
I got married.
Man.
Oh wow.
Yeah, since the last time I've been on here, I got married. Had a really cool. We just eloped in Vegas and got to go on a road trip adventure, and it was great.
It seemed like you had a great time. Aaron just kept sending me pictures on his trip.
They were SOS. Help! No.
No, I think it was mostly just look at this arcade machine and look at this other thing, and yeah.
Yes. I got to go to in Vegas. They have the Pinball Hall of Fame. Got to pop in there and see every cool themed pinball machine you could ever imagine. They pretty much had it.
That is so cool.
I got to play Incredible Hulk, which was amazing. It was probably my favorite. But got to play a lot of cool stuff in there.
I'm really jealous because I thought I had a one-up on you with the pinball thing when a couple years ago I got to go to the Texas Pinball Convention, and then you went to that, and I was like, okay, well, he's beating me on pinball now.
Well, if you ever go to that again, I would love to meet up with you because I've been wanting to go to that, and something always comes up. But if I can make an excuse, like someone's coming in from out of state to come to this thing, that would be cool. Yeah,
we've got it. Well, yeah, because you don't have to drive as far. Yeah, we've got to meet up there at some point. I was supposed to go last year, and then COVID happened, and that was just a couple of weeks after everything started getting shut down, and so we were like pins and needles trying to figure out whether we were going to get to go, and we didn't get to go. And I'm assuming it didn't happen this year too, but maybe it did. I don't even know. I didn't check into it, just because I decided not to do any traveling until all this was done. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's just the vibe. That was the vibe of 2020, and then 2021 feels like things are going to slowly open back up. I don't know about conventions. That's probably going to be 2022 when they feel safe enough and more children can be vaccinated, because honestly, we're not at that point yet. But I think once we get to that point, we'll have more conventions open.
Well, hopefully at least next year. That's in February.
Yeah.
I bet by next February, Aaron, we'll get to finally do that show, and you'll get to see the pinball. Or not pinball. You did that already. The National Video Game Museum.
Yes, I would love to go over in Frisco, I think.
Frisco, yeah, that's where both of those things are.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But anyway, welcome, folks. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah.
If you are not familiar with Aaron Hickman, he is one of the hosts of one of my favorite podcasts, the Genesis Gems and Bit Brothers, and he is a pop culture and video game aficionado, and also a chiptune composer, and plays in a band, and that's why you see band stuff all behind him, because he just got done with a show. How'd your show go, man?
It was great. This was part of Super Bit Fest, which was a one-day nerd convention, and they had a cosplay contest and video game bands, and it was great.
That opened.
It was a stream, like they were supposed to be an in-person thing, and then it turned into a one-day streaming event. But it was very professionally done, and it went off without a hitch. It was fantastic. So it was great.
So, folks, tonight on the show, I was inspired by something that just kept happening on Tuesday when we had our 80s theme show. I thought tonight I would make it the If You Could show. Please frame all of your questions beginning with the words, if you could. And anything at all can come after that. But, Aaron, on Tuesday, it was a lot of, like, if you could live in the world of any 80s movie forever, what would it be? And then that just snowballed into insane ridiculousness. So I thought I would just lean into that tonight and make the entire show those kinds of questions. As always, if you want to make sure that your question is talked about on air, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, but don't feel the need to do that. We will do as many pre-written things as possible as well. So throw those in the comments. That's why we have a chat moderator. with, might I add, a really fun Avengers t-shirt. I like that one. I don't know if I've seen that.
Yeah, I don't usually like geeky shirts. Like, I don't like shirts where it's just like a square comic book or like. So this one reminded me of my this or that thumbnail that I did for the channel. So
Yeah,
it's
it
kind
is
of cool.
a lot like that. That
It's
was one of
cool,
your
like a
best
notebook
comments.
almost, where you would put stickers on it and all sorts of scribbles and drawings. So I like that.
Yeah.
I like that vibe.
And
Yeah.
Aaron, your shirt reminds me of my dream of having a t-shirt for every console. Or at least every console I grew up with. I'd love to have that.
I have a quick story. Take me like less than a minute to explain. But I had
Okay,
a
I
shirt
guess that's
like
fine.
this, and it said Neo Geo on it. And it was very bright. But I went into a bar one time with that shirt on, and they kicked me out because they thought I was underage, and I'd forgotten my ID. This was a couple of years ago. I don't get that anymore. But watch out if you walk into a bar wearing a very brightly colored Neo Geo shirt. Not that that would ever happen to you, but it happened to me.
It sounds like a real desert island scenario that only happens to
Yes.
Aaron Hickman.
Only to me. It was the weirdest day.
Real quick, everybody, excuse me for indulging myself, but I haven't talked to Aaron in a while. How's Nick doing?
Nick is on the I'm just kidding. No, Nick is just fine.
What happened?
No, Nick is great. Last I talked to him, everything's going all right. We're kind of back in the swing of things here. Been able to record more things, and he's doing well. Yeah, no issues with Nick lately. He and his family are great.
I'm gonna tell him
He's
you
always
said that.
sending me
Listen,
cool
I know
guitar
it's been touch
videos.
and go, Nick. I know you guys hardly get along. I'm really glad that you're doing better now.
No, we're great. Nick is the chillest co-host. If you ever talk to the guy, which I know you have, he is pretty chill and pretty mellow. It takes a lot to get that guy going.
No, he's
so.
super easy to get along with. He looks like he could murder you with one finger, but he is... That's a big guy. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the show, folks.
Yeah.
We're going to jump right into questions, and let me mention also real fast that we're going to be doing After Dark on Patreon after this show, so show up to that if you are so inclined. You can keep hanging out with us. Brandon and Austin will both be there for that, and we're going to be doing a blind commentary on Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which I have never seen, and I am excited to finally do that because everybody was having a lot of fun making fun of that movie on the Mortal Kombat spoiler cast on Monday, and I felt really left out, and I've always been told to just never bother with that movie, and then I found out that it's maybe like a fun bad movie, and I'm like, well, now wait a minute, why didn't I watch that? So we're gonna do that tonight, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it and expressing my thoughts as we go for the first time. Also, the show right now is still sponsored by the 4.5-hour mega documentary In Search of Tomorrow, and you can pledge to the Indiegogo for that documentary up until May 4th, so until I think next Tuesday, which happens to also be the day that we're doing the final the final show in this round of Marvel Mania, where unfortunately we're having to end it off with New Mutants. So everybody show up for that, and let's try to make it as lively as humanly possible, shall we? But we're doing the last commentary for Phase 2 of Marvel Mania that night, and like I said, that's the night, that's the day that the pledges end for In Search of Tomorrow. That is an 80s science fiction documentary that goes chronologically through the sci-fi films of the 80s, 75 plus actors and directors and behind the scenes folks talked to there, including Peter Weller and interesting folks like that. It looks boss, and I'm excited about it. It comes out around Christmas, so look into that, won't you? And right now, finally, without any more rambling from me, I'm going to drink my Sonic and listen to a question. Go ahead, sir.
All right, so let me get right into this. People are liking it, and this is like a very wide open. Lots of people are taking it a lot of different ways. So, CM Productions, if you could create your own fifth Ninja Turtle, male or female, how would you do it? I don't think he means like physically how would you create a turtle, but it just means what.
Aaron, could you finally tell us the secret of the ooze? Because in that movie, the secret was there was ooze.
I just remember something about dandelions. That's like
Giant dandelions.
Giant dandelions.
David
and
Warner
then Kevin
with his
Nash.
giant dandelions and his Bart Simpson glass.
Yeah, and Kevin Nash was Super Shredder, and there was another big song by Vanilla Ice. That's what I remember from that movie.
Yeah, well, and there was the scene was so weird because he tears off the dandelion, the giant dandelions on the ground, and then he picks it up and like looks at it and smells it, and then goes, dandelions. Like you couldn't see the giant dandelions before you picked it up. Anyway,
I really go for that in that movie.
Does he do that with everything in nature? Does he have to like pick up a blade of grass and taste it before he's like, grass?
Okay, so who is the pizza delivery guy in that movie?
Oh, he's gonna turn into a turtle in your world?
Oh, you're gonna make Kino a turtle?
In my world,
That's a
I
good
would
idea.
turn him into a turtle in my universe because he badly wants to be a turtle. He's just begging for it.
He was literally in the turtle suit in the first movie.
Yeah,
so
it would be really ironic because the actor got to be a turtle, then he's a person,
Yeah.
then the person wants to be a turtle, he's right back to being in a suit again.
That would be great because
That's a
it would make up for
brilliant
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
And you know what's brilliant about that? I just thought of this. My favorite line from that movie. I love that answer so much. My favorite line from that movie is when Michelangelo says, when they're introducing themselves to Kino, and he says all the good ones end in O. And if Kino is a Ninja Turtle, he too ends in O.
That's amazing.
It's brilliant.
Well, we solved it.
That is the definitive answer if we're talking about the movies. Let's go to cartoons and comics for a minute. If I was making a fifth turtle, I would allow Metalhead to finally be a real turtle. Metalhead gets to be a real boy.
When you bought the action figure, wasn't he just a reskin of a turtle anyway?
No, he was real blocky.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my favorite figure from that line, actually. From the old Playmates line.
Yeah.
Great question. What else we got, man?
We got Jedi Knight. What villains were more sympathetic than the hero? Super chat. So I'm reading it, even though it's not on theme.
It's not in the format. All you have to do is start with those 3 words, okay, and formulate it that way. It could be anything. And also, I meant to mention this earlier. If you guys want to do like multiple choice with this too, because we were getting a lot of that on Tuesday. Like if you could, have this, or this, but it doesn't have to be that way.
It's like if you wanted flight or invisibility as a superpower, like those type of things. Yeah.
Yes. Although that's a little, you could do that. That's a little closer to the Would You Rather show, which we've done 2 or 3 times now, and we love that format. But I thought this would be sort of like that, but more open-ended, and I was curious to see what would come in. And it looks really diverse and eclectic already, so that's exciting. But let's answer this question. That's really broad. Ask it one more time.
What villains were more sympathetic than the hero?
Ooh, I could go for an easy one here.
Yeah.
What about Kingpin? Well, at least in the Daredevil show that was recently on. I mean, he has a pretty bad heel turn, but I was thinking about, without spoiling too much, they kind of give some of his origin story that made him pretty sympathetic, I thought.
I agree that that's a sympathetic villain. I don't agree that he's more sympathetic than Matt Murdock.
That's true. He lost his sight. That's fair.
I think
I
most of
he gets a blind card.
Yeah, I think. Well, and also those 2 characters. I don't even know if I want to say equally sympathetic because obviously one of those guys I'm with more than the other, and I'm believing in his cause to some degree. But those 2 guys, their histories and personalities and backgrounds really parallel each other, and so that ends up watching like an almost dual protagonist thing. With a really tragic protagonist and then one who's even more tragic than the other one who serves as the antagonist for that guy. But you just as easily could have followed Kingpin through that whole show and had Daredevil more in the background. So yeah, that's a good answer as far as sympathetic antagonists go. And I go to Magneto too much. I think that's an even better answer than Magneto. I think most of the easiest answers for this question are things where the hero just sucks.
Yes.
I hate that guy. I don't want to see him on screen,
he gets the worst lines. That happens too, where it's like the villain gets the best lines typically.
Yeah, people aren't gonna like me saying this, but like,
Are you describing 89?
to some degree, I have that a little bit. Yeah, it's not about line count. In that case, that means that by default, General Zod in Man of Steel is more sympathetic than Superman, because Superman has like 19 lines. Like Cavill, like memorized his script in like an afternoon when he shot that movie. But anyway,
He had to spend the rest of the time working out because he's like as big as the Hulk in that movie.
People aren't going to like me saying this, but to some degree, I guess I don't really mean this, but the first thing that jumps to mind is like Doc Ock over Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, just because like he's so whiny. So like, you go to a movie where people talk about how like wonderfully sympathetic a villain is, and you can see their perspective, and you care about them, and then you have to look at the hero in that movie and go, do I actually like that guy? Like, I don't know, to some degree, I don't hate Spider-Man in that movie, but that's the first thing that jumps to mind. I don't know if I have a great answer for this though.
If you get out of sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish your thought.
Okay, so my thought was if we get out of comic books and we jump into other medium, Breaking Bad is an idea where you have a quote protagonist who's kind of more of an antagonist.
Yeah,
and you try to
but
compare
we said heroes and villains. That's not a hero-villain
heroes and
piece,
villains.
man.
So is this like superheroes and supervillains?
No, it doesn't have
like,
to be. But all I'm saying is
okay.
that's an anti-hero piece, man.
What about
like,
that's the anti-hero versus they're set up as the protagonist.
I wouldn't even call Hank Schrader an absolute hero in that. I mean, like he is to some degree, but
he's just in one perspective. But
sure, but I'm just saying that is a super flawed, character all at the same time.
Yeah,
I have an answer, and it's actually because of the way the film is structured, not because the protagonist is just lame and we don't like him. The hero, my answer is Andrew from Chronicle.
Oh, absolutely.
Is more sympathetic than the hero because the hero doesn't become the hero until the very end after the whole fight with Andrew, and that's when he starts becoming a hero. But we're in Andrew's head the whole time. I don't even remember the hero's name in that movie.
Right off, I'm not remembering either, but it's been a little while.
But that's how it's set up
for
the villain to be more sympathetic, because that's the villain's piece, and I really like that movie. So
that's also like an M. Night Shyamalan twist. I feel like to get you sympathetic for a villain and then twist it. Look out, they were the villain the whole time, and you didn't realize it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I fully agree with that. That guy is that guy comes from a real dark place right at the beginning. Like as soon as he's getting superpowers, you're like, that's not a kid that should have superpowers. That's a bad idea.
Yes.
A lot of people in the comments are saying that I need to say Smallville Lex Luthor over Smallville Clark Kent, of course. And I wish I had thought of that right away. That is probably the definitive answer. DJ, let's keep going.
All right. John Ty, if you could be Superman, would you want the responsibility of being one?
I mean, yeah, so I would remain a human being, right? I mean, like I don't mean to go for too serious of an answer, but the way this is John Ty we're talking about, and the way he asked the question was in a pretty serious way. Like, yeah, all things being equal, it'd be real fun if you could have power and money and fame and none of the responsibility that comes with it. Obviously, all things being equal, if the world is the way the world is, and I'm able to do all the things that Superman can, I'm going to want that sense of responsibility. Otherwise, I become a monster, and you don't want that. So, but if you're asking it the other way, it's a lot like saying, wouldn't you love to have actions without consequences? Well, yeah, like sure. like who wouldn't want that?
No, I mean you need consequences because you think about almost every superhero video game. You think about every Superman game kind of being a dud because he has too much power, or they take away all his powers just to make it into a video game. Because he's all powerful, and you could just make the game a joke, but like they had to put these weird constraints on him. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and my answer to that has always been, and I don't mean to be a broken record because we've talked about this a lot on the show, like what a Superman video game should look like, and also the question of, is Superman too powerful to be a sympathetic human character. You just got to get it out of the really typical action realm. You can't have a Superman game, probably, unless, like you said, you really dumb down the power set, that is like the Arkham games. Superman is actually better for an RPG.
Yeah, or Metroidvania, like an action-adventure game where you take away all his abilities and he slowly regains them.
Or where it's just not about whether or not he's going to die, you know?
Yeah.
You make it something a lot more puzzly than that, or something a lot more character-driven than that. And
just have him push some blocks, you know?
Wouldn't it be great if you had a Superman game where Superman couldn't die? You didn't have kryptonite. He is absolutely invulnerable, but you lose. But there's a different win condition. There's a different way to lose. It's not about whether or not Superman dies. It's about whether or not Superman saves enough people, or something like that. Or if Superman lets too many people die, the game is over. Like, that's how you do a Superman game.
Just give me an open world Superman where I can fly around and save cats from trees and old ladies and do like Superman stuff.
I don't.
They modded
if you don't save enough cats,
GTA.
You're done.
They modded Superman into GTA 5, I want to say, so you get that Superman feel in an open world game.
John Kelling wants us to know that he's watching us on his TV.
Oh, man, awesome. How do we look?
That's pretty big. Put some makeup on.
What size TV are we talking here? Is this like a 65-inch?
You're not watching us on a projector screen, are you? Because that seems like a mistake.
All right, TH1. The sun is a ball of incandescent gas. If you could,
is that the sun is a mass of anyway, I'm sorry.
If you could control any element on the periodic table, what would it be? And if you could live in any RPG, which one? Okay, so vastly different questions.
Can I first get the superpower of remembering all the elements on the periodic table?
Yeah. I mean, Krypton's pretty easy, right?
Should I pull up a list? Maybe that's part of my job.
Thing I was gonna, yeah.
I mean, you don't have the song memorized of all the periodic elements?
No, I could do the TBG Sun song that I just started doing, but I don't know that.
I could do the helping and linking verb song.
Right? I can do the Mexico DF Mexico. I can do the Spanish country song, but
I could do the 3 sections of the small intestine song.
So I'm gonna go Krypton.
How a bill becomes a law. Yeah, I was gonna say Krypton too, but that just seemed like the.
I mean, you could do Fe for iron. That's an E.
Yeah, any metal would be awesome. You'd basically be Magneto.
Of course, but then you'd like. It'd be fun for a minute, and then it would get irritating because you would see things made of metal, and you'd be like, that doesn't have enough iron in it, so I can't control it. This is irritating. And then you'd wish you were Magneto, and you'd start to feel insecure about your abilities not actually being as vast and exciting as they would be if you were Magneto.
I'm going to go with helium, and I'm just going to... Anybody that annoys me, I'm going to blast full of helium, like the ant in... the second or whatever Harry Potter movie that is, where she just like gets blown away as a balloon.
Oh, that's genius. Okay, so I have a feeling that we're about to find out all of the screens that we're currently on this evening, gentlemen. Thomas Ledbetter, I'm watching on a 55-inch 4K TV.
Oh,
John Kelly says his is a 70-inch.
Good Lord.
If you'd like to tell us how small or large we are in your living room or wherever you are right now, feel free, and you don't have to do it in a super chat. We'll try to read as many of those as we can, because it's hilarious.
I like the idea of someone giving us money just to tell us that they have a 32-inch TV.
Yeah, that's a waste of funds.
Now, if they had a CRT, if they had an old big box TV, I'd be amazed. That would be great.
Yeah, because you'd be wondering how they got us in there. How'd you convert the HDMI signal into that? Like,
there are ways.
Oh, there are. But I'd want to know.
Yeah. Okay, so should we jump to that other RPG one? What was that question again?
If you could live in any RPG, which one would it be?
Well, thanks for getting us back on track. I forgot that was the second question.
Yeah. I don't. So, I'm always down for that steampunk meets fantasy stuff that Final Fantasy does. That's pretty legit. Or I could be totally boring and do like Earthbound, where it's literally present day.
Well, I was
Just
going to
a
say that
little
would be
weirder?
my answer, because it would be really easy to just be in areas that are a lot like the world you live in already, and where nothing bad ever happens.
Yeah, and they just quote Beatles lyrics to you. That's great.
Yeah. It's quirky and silly, just like my real life. And then occasionally spaceships land or in your backyard.
And sometimes you beat up hippies for no reason.
Well, hey, as me and Cap stated earlier, we're on the way to becoming hippies. So
That's right. Or at least we're homaging them.
I'm gonna say the lamest answer ever because I don't play RPGs, but I'm playing currently. I'm playing the remake of the Pokemon Yellow with the what's it called, Pikachu Let's Go or whatever on
That
Switch.
counts. That's close
And I-
enough.
I love that game. It's so nostalgic for me because it's all the original
Plus, you're
Pokemon, and that would be
playing
cool.
the easy kidified version that everyone was like, this isn't for adults. That's the one you're playing.
Well, it's a remake. The only thing they changed was you don't battle like wild Pokemon. You catch them like you do on Pokemon Go, which I don't care. It's fine.
I actually didn't realize it was a straight up remake. I thought it was just kind of watered down a little bit for kids.
Can you? So if this was real life, could you go to the tall grass, or you have to avoid that?
And then you pick it up and taste it to make sure it's grass.
That's right. What kind of grass?
The new Pokemon Snap for Switch comes out tomorrow, and my
Oh,
son's
really?
planning
That looks
on getting
beautiful.
that.
Yeah.
It looks really cool.
There aren't enough games where you just take pictures of things.
Well, every
Seriously.
game has a photo mode now, so it
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like the main part of the game.
No, they
That
need
was
to make a
great.
Spider-Man game where you just have the
Yes.
photo mode.
Just the photo mode, and you get judged.
Yeah, it's
And
Daily
Jameson
Bugle.
is like yelling in your earpiece.
That actually makes sense. I was trying to think of something that wouldn't make sense, but that's perfect.
Aaron, if I was gonna not remake, if I was gonna do a new Pilot Wings, that's what I would do with it. I would make it all about the pictures, because there's like in Pilot Wings 64, there's like one bit where you say, or I think there's a few levels where you have to take pictures, but like that would be an easy game to have where it's all about taking pictures.
Oh yeah, you just have to capture the perfect moments. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Just zanier and zanier.
And with
thing.
whatever
I mean,
cool
it's-
sports you're doing, you know, be it
Yeah.
a gyrocopter or jumping out of a plane or
Rocket belts. Yeah, down for that.
Cool. GJJI, if you could rewrite an episode of Smallville, which one would it be?
Okay, so my cop-out answer, and I'm a broken record, I've said this 1,000 times, but this is my answer. My cop-out answer has always been leave season 1, even though there are some not great and kind of bad one-off episodes. They're easy to ignore. They're not that important because that show is not fully serialized that first season. You just change the cliffhanger at the end of 1. And then you move on from there. So the episode I would change, and I would even keep most of that episode the same, because I like it fine. But when you get to the end of that season 1 cliffhanger, you let Lana find out about Clark's secret and remember it and hang on to it, and not like, oh, there was so much stuff moving around in a tornado, I wasn't sure if I was actually seeing you saving my life. And then also you let Lana Luthor die. Even though I love that character so much, you get so much better motivation for Lex's descent into badness after that if you let him die. And I think that show automatically you have to be more creative in where you go with it after that, and we just kept kind of resetting back status quo constantly with that. And that was an era where we couldn't get away from that. I think if you made that show 10 years after that, you wouldn't have had that problem. It wouldn't have been season 7 before Lana finally found out. But yeah, that's the cop-out answer. I mean, obviously there are certain episodes that I would just get rid of the crazy hokey stuff or not be more ambitious than I'm able to be. You wouldn't have, in my Smallville, you wouldn't have a 45-second Doomsday fight. You also wouldn't have Clark fight Doomsday before he's Superman, and you wouldn't have like his entire rogues gallery before he's Superman. If you had to have the no flights, no tights thing, you would have like a really compelling character reason for why Clark isn't flying, even if he's able to. Let his fear of heights actually come from a character place instead of just being a cool cutesy thing. He's Superman. Isn't it funny that he's that he is scared of heights? Oh, Clark and Lois are gonna get married later. Isn't it great that they hate each other when they first meet? Like, let's have reasons for things. So anyway, yeah, I mean, there's 1,000 things I would change about that show, but a single episode, it's definitely what is it, Vortex? That last episode of season 1.
I would bring back Richard Pryor in the other Superman universe and just somehow put him in there and make a whole episode around why August Gorman's come back. And
is anybody else surprised they
Superman
didn't
3
do that character? Like,
I don't know. I didn't watch enough Smallville to like have a really good take on that. But I almost feel like had it lasted longer or been a little further ahead, it could have been crossed over with Flash or with Arrow or one of the Batman shows. There could have been a cool crossover episode.
Well,
somehow.
sadly, they did that, and it was the worst because Crisis was one of the most unfortunate things I've ever had to sit through, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. DJ, let's move on, man. We've got a lot of super chats.
All right. From Adam March or Aid March, if you could be a Spider-Man movie villain and went to Thanksgiving dinner with Peter Parker, what food item would you bring?
I know you want me to say yams, okay?
Yams! Yams is the only
Not
answer.
the fruitcake. Sorry, Aaron, this is an inside joke from the last couple of weeks.
Please.
There's a guy that keeps coming in giving us trivia questions about superhero movies toward the end of the show. I don't know if he's here right now. And if he is, I hope he does that again. But he asked us about Norman Osborn at Thanksgiving in the first Raimi movie and what he brought, and we could not remember the fruitcake. There's a line about it where he's like, "Enjoy the fruitcake," and somebody thought it was yams, and then that took off, and people can't stop talking about yams now. Or was it that I said yams and then I was like, no cranberry sauce? I can't remember now. Anyway,
I would bring stuffing because that is the greatest Thanksgiving food that has ever existed, and I love stuffing. Some people in the South call it dressing. Wrong. It's called stuffing.
Wrong. I like cranberry sauce.
I guess Electro, and they could bring I don't know, green bean casserole. I'm down for that.
Ooh, that's a solid
pick
second
a
choice.
Solid choice.
And then a food that has nothing to do with that character.
Jack all to do with them. Unless they just happen. This is just backstory,
I'm providing
right?
character development.
They just happen. Like that's a crucial part of their character
I fully
development.
believe that the Rhino from Amazing Spider-Man 2, Paul Giamatti, loves stuffing.
The
I think he's
Rhino. No, I would. Yeah, I'd be the chameleon, and I'd bring cranberry sauce. Why? I don't know. I don't have any more of a reason for it than Aaron did.
Chameleon's cranberries, it writes itself.
Yeah, precisely.
All right. Super Billy, franchise you would take charge of if you could. Oh, he's doing a little reversal there at the end of the sentence. Kind of a Yoda thing.
Does it have to be current?
I don't think so. Just a franchise. But it's you take charge of, so yeah, that does kind of make it seem like it has to
Charge
be.
of sounds like now, but I mean, if I could go back in time, once again, broken record, yeah, I'd go fix Smallville. I have such a love-hate relationship with that show. It's just not that hard to do that right. But beyond that, you know what? And then after that, it's also Gotham. Because I also don't think that is as hard as they made it out to be either. And I would, at the very least, from the beginning, make it clear what that thing was supposed to be, so that I'm not so confused I want to blow my brains out every time I watch that show. Because I'm just like, does this thing know it's bad? Does it know how, like dark comedy it is? Does it know that it's basically like black 60s Batman? By the end of it, I was pretty, or at least by as much as I saw, because I never finished that show. I didn't watch the last season. I would go back and forth every week. I'd be like, yeah, it knows just what it is. And then the next week, I'm like, you know what? It is taking itself way too seriously. I don't think it does know that it's a complete farce. So anyway, yeah, Smallville and Gotham. But as far as stuff going on right this very minute,
sometimes I want to rewrite something where it's like they get to a second season of something and they really lose the plot, but then they get it back by the third season. And I've just been watching a show where I feel like that's kind of happened, where I would just go back in time and maybe rewrite that second season and it would be fine. And that would be, I've just been watching Cobra Kai. I don't know if you guys have watched Cobra Kai at all.
Oh, yeah. I've been reviewing it.
Yeah, so Cobra Kai, I feel like there were some really solid moments in the first season, and then the second season lost me a little bit. There were some good moments, but I felt like the writing was a little weaker in that. So I would punch up that writing a bit. And maybe I kind of get overarching why they had to focus on some of these minor characters more to make the plot make sense. But some of it felt a little bit too Disney at times.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm not sure.
I enjoyed it.
I dropped off of the third season. I only got like 2 episodes into the third season, and I dropped off.
You just need to watch more of it because it picks up. It finds itself again.
They did the bully when they did the instructor was also bullied as a kid. I'm like, okay, every freaking person who's a bully was also bullied as a kid. Like, I don't need to be sympathetic with everybody. Like, come on.
Well,
but,
okay,
I mean,
but maybe we're kind of making a statement with that. Like,
I know, but it was just pretty typical. The way they did it, too, where he's like, the bully says his catchphrase and he takes on the bully's catchphrase and uses it. I was like, oh, good.
But, Eric and I have talked about this, and I think he's right about it. I think the issue is that show didn't start as a full-on melodrama, and I think by season 2, Eric's right, it is a full-on melodrama. And at that point, you got to decide if you're with that or not. And it's also up to everybody to decide whether or not it could have held on to the relative realism and believability of that first season without falling into that. But, like, it remained really entertaining, and I still like a lot of those characters. But I think it does. I think it descends into melodrama pretty quickly.
Soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like 2 characters will magically meet at the same restaurant in the same town, or they just show up at the same place.
Although it had that problem from the beginning. That thing is built on a series of contrivances from the word
right.
Go.
It's like they could have just lived their lives, or it's always that problem of if these characters would have just spent like 5 minutes talking to each other, it would have solved the whole season. It's always that problem.
I'm gonna go out of left field and just say something silly and say if I was in charge of any franchise right now, it would be I'm thinking video games because Aaron's here. It would be Mario Kart because I want the numbers to stop because it's ridiculous that we went to numbers. I don't like that, and also. I don't like that we're still playing Mario Kart 8 5 years later. Like, I love that game, and I get that it's still selling really well for them, so that's why they're not making another one. But it's kind of time for another Mario Kart, and not just a phone game. The phone game is wonderful. I'm just saying that if I was in charge, we would get rid of the numbers, and there would be a Mario Kart game every 3 to 4 years.
I think I have the opposite problem with Smash, where I'm just like, I can't keep track of the names. So if you gave me an actual number for that one, I wouldn't mind. I think Mario Kart, I'm cool with what you're saying, because I'm like, okay, Mario Kart Double Dash. Mario, like, I like the naming conventions. But
it already was all over the place, though. It's like the John Wick films, those Mario Kart, because they went like.
And they did that on purpose, I think. But that's fine with Mario Kart because it's all Mario Kart something. And then we did that thing that we do in comics, where after there's a whole bunch of them, we'll just go back and we'll decide, like, we'll like count out how many there are, because we do that in comics sometimes too. We'll be like Venom number 100. It's like it's never had a monthly that lasted for you counted every issue as if it was all in one series. Okay. And then that's what Mario Kart did, and I thought that was just bizarre.
Yeah, or when this happened with Sonic, where there were so many sequels, and suddenly you're like, oh, guess what? Here's Sonic 4. Like, you didn't just have like 8 other games come out in the past 10 years.
Well, I was fine with that name if only it had lived up to it. The point of that was we've not made a legitimate side-scrolling, like, Genesis-era Sonic game and in all this time, and everything after it is not that. They're different franchises. No, you would not be complaining about that if it was not mediocre.
If it was the best Sonic game.
Or at least on par with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, right? Like, when we got Sonic Mania, that should have been called Sonic 4. I mean, I love Sonic. I love the name Sonic Mania, don't get me wrong, but if Sonic 4 hadn't happened, it would not have been pretentious for them to call it that, because it was that good. But I played Sonic 4, and that was pretentious, because it ain't. It ain't Sonic 4.
It was cookie cutter budget. budget stuff.
But then real quick, going back to Smash, you
Yes.
also have the silly thing with that where it's like, after the original Smash, each of them has kind of a cool, like, punchy, exciting title. Melee! And Brawl! And then for Wii U! You couldn't have given it a title? Like, really? Alright. It sounds like a handheld.
Get a thesaurus.
And actually, they did
Right
the same
out.
thing with a 3DS because they basically they sort of kind of ported that game to 3DS at the same time, and like I think it's got different arenas and things, and it's worth playing for different reasons. But they did the same thing. It was like Smash for 3DS and Smash for Wii U. But you could use your 3DS as a controller in that game, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that justifies. Well, also like the fact that in the new Smash, which is kind of the updated version, they throw in like every single character they possibly could, and they're still adding more characters. There's so much content in that game that it's almost like the biggest fighting game I can think of that's not a fan game as far in terms of how many characters they've thrown in there.
And part of that is because they make it as if it were a fan game.
Yes.
In a lot of ways, that is the problem with Smash, right? Is there's not the quality control that you get with a lot of other Nintendo franchises, particularly in the music department, because that, like, Smash currently is composed by like 65 different people.
Yes. It is just a bevy of so many different flavors. There's just so many different tastes in there. It's like you go to a 7-Eleven and you get a Slurpee with every single flavor, and that's what you get with Smash.
I was going to say, yeah, you put it on random and you are playing Ian Sherry Garcia. It's going to happen. That's exactly right. I have heard, and I don't know how true this is, Aaron, that every time Nintendo puts out a Smash game, they act like it's the last one. Like they never intend on making more after that. I had never heard that before.
Yeah, that's kind of odd to me, considering it's one of their biggest franchises. I would believe that for Metroid,
It's a
because they only
well, yeah.
they only put out a Metroid every like 5 to 7 years. So I would get that, but it's almost like this false scarcity. I don't know. There's just a weird thing with Nintendo where they're like, oh, well, it's not going to be around forever, or we're not going to make another one. I don't know.
Yeah, like
Nintendo kind of plays by their own rules.
Like, we're going to make 10, but 5 billion people want one.
Yeah. Or like, hey, we're going to make a digital item, limited time only. Why? Because we're Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, and that had the whole community insanely up in arms last year. It's like all I
can't
was
play-
hearing about.
You can't play Super Mario 35 anymore on the Switch. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's like this
and it was
cool
great.
game. Yeah, it was cool. And then it got replaced, which, Pac-Man 99, that's great, but it wasn't like you had to be like, oh, guess what? For the 35th anniversary of Mario, we're going to have a little thing you can play, and then it's going to go away. What sense
I
does
guess
that
because
make?
it's now the 36th and the title just isn't relevant anymore. So we gotta Well, let's move on.
Yeah.
All right. Let's not go very far, though. TH1, if you could pick one thing to put in an RPG based on your channels, what would you want to see? Great show tonight, guys.
Okay, so Tom's saying that because he's been using RPG Maker and he's been building a Geevolution RPG. So and he's been posting pictures of it in the Patreon Discord. So he's got like a spawn year area, and I forget what else he said he's got. Dooms Vince is in it.
It's awesome.
But yeah, so hard for me to say because I know all the stuff maybe he's asking that question, so I will tell him what I want in his game. But yeah, I don't know right off.
I would say, quote Mitch Hedberg and say other people, because my channel is very small in comparison to Geekvolution. So lots of NPCs, loads of NPCs. You're all welcome.
I think I would want. I just thought of this. I think I would want Captain Logan to finally get a superhero costume. Years ago, Rockman designed a costume, and I always I want a bloody costume, and then I just wouldn't get one. I'd have that line for no reason, and then not get a costume. But no, Years ago, Rockman did a couple of parody covers where there was like a death of, it was a Nightfall cover, and it was Dooms Vince putting me over his knee with a backbreaker, and I'm wearing this really cool outfit that's based like a little bit on a Star Trek TNG uniform, and I've got a mask that goes up to the top of my head, but then my hair comes out of the top of it, and it's all red and black, and like it's super sleek looking, and I would want the option to have that costume at some point.
Is this the early TNG? Is this like the pilot episode where guys are wearing skirts?
No, it's not like that. And I think it's only like that in color scheme, and that it has like a line that cuts off like up here, I think.
I think he should add in some of the classics, like a basketball court and the movie theater.
To think of cool references to the channel, and I just immediately I can't remember my own stuff right now. But no, you're right. Basketball would be great, and something about Lonely Chips and
the theater that you and Vince went to and talked to people after Twilight. If anybody remembers that video, which is like the 6th.
You have a character arc for me where I start off being like really prudish and anti-profanity, and then I'm just swearing up a storm by the end of the game.
Wow, that's good stuff. That's like some character you're putting in there.
It's where my head lives, man. It's where my head lives.
Super Billy, $2 super chat. Best villain turned hero or anti-hero? On the spot like that.
Count Monte Cristo.
First thing that comes to mind is Dr. Doom a few years ago when he had his own book. And I guess Magneto to a certain degree as well. But I mean, you know, and even like when Galactus was the Lifebringer, I mean, we always he turned orange and he like saved planets from destruction instead of eating them. But like, you know, eventually we're always going to go back to status quo. These things don't stick around.
I just remember Galactus from the Silver Surfer game on NES. Like that's my point of reference for that guy, and he has like nothing.
So you hate Galactus?
Oh, he's the worst. He's the most annoying.
One of my favorite villains of all time.
No, I mean he's great, but in the context of that game, which just fuels my hate fire, yeah, he's kind of a pain.
Venom.
Oh yeah, OAW's right. You do have to get because Chi is in that game. So there should be a whole area that's just about the degeneration of language, where there's just like signs with like stupid, horrible grammar that no one else around minds, and then like you as Captain Logan lose hit points because you can't deal with it. So you have to like avoid looking at certain signs, or like your life meter goes down.
It's like the poppy field in Wizard of Oz. You're like falling asleep as you're walking through it because it's just killing you.
You see like MTN do on a sign, just like I can't handle it. Or you see could of, and you just go into a coma.
Adam Arch, $5. If you could write Galactus, wow, this is a total coincidence. Total coincidence. If
nice
you could
segue.
If you could write Galactus's introduction to the MCU, how would you do it?
I'm just excited about the possibility that it can happen now, and he doesn't have to be a cloud.
Cap is so giddy. He's galactically giddy.
I'm galactically giddy, yeah.
They would have him sit on a throne somewhere, and there's a bunch of CGI, and he hardly moves. And he has a really weird prosthetic chin. Oh wait, I'm talking. Sorry, wrong character. But that's how I imagine they would do it if they had him in the MCU. They would just blink someone into existence on wherever he's at.
Yeah, and, I mean, he'll be a giant special effect, of course, but
yeah.
No, we've talked about various ways that could be accomplished. I mean, I still would love to introduce him with the Fantastic Four. I would love for that to be their first story. I kind of like the idea that the Avengers are maybe still kind of broken up and in shambles, or maybe there's a team that's starting to form again, but they're just not anything like enough to handle Galactus, and that's why the Fantastic Four comes in and steps up finally, whatever their introduction and status quo is. I also, and I don't mean to go to this for everything, it's just I know that they're about to start doing multiversal things. I could also see Galactus coming from another universe, and that being one of the ways that we introduce the multiverse, because it's kind of weird that there's been no mention of him yet, and like he doesn't necessarily even have to come from the same universe that the FF does if they were to do that multiversal. I personally don't think they will do that. There's still that kind of, verdicts out with X-Men, whether or not that will be from another dimension. The more we've been talking about it, and seeing the kind of slow burn lead up to multiverse, I don't think that's going to happen now either. I think folks that say that either there's going to be like a light switch, there are mutants now thing, or we're just going to be told that there have been all along. One of those two things is likely to happen. I really don't think, because I think it would confuse people. There's been so much rumor about the X-Men from Fox showing up from another dimension, and now DC is going to be doing that kind of thing, and also Spider-Man is very clearly doing something like that in 3 with bringing back old characters from the other Spider-Man movies. I kind of think they'll leave that alone with X-Men. I think they'll start over completely, and they won't have those characters with the exception of Deadpool. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I've waffled. I've gone back and forth on this. But at this point, I don't think that will happen. With FF, it could go either way, because it is weird that we've done as much cosmic as we have, and nobody's ever brought up Galactus. And that's also what we did toward the end of Ultimate and in the comics, and should have been, by the way the Ultimate Universe was actually destroyed, because it looked for a minute like that's what it was going to be, and then they just waited 6 months or a year, and then they did it anyway with Secret Wars. It's very strange, but Galactus from our universe went over to Ultimate and was, and that was Cataclysm, and it was, a big world-destroying threat that they had not had to deal with before. I could see them kind of adapting that, and I really think that's probably possible, and I don't think it would be a terrible way to do it.
Super Billy, if you could become a great, albeit unsuccessful writer, or the wealthiest person on the planet, which would you choose?
Man, I'm so... the cynical and the more idealistic parts of me are like at loggerheads right now when you ask me that question, because if I'm a great writer, it's like if a tree falls and there's no one around.
I was just going to say,
right?
if you're a great writer and you fall in the woods, does it really matter?
Yeah. It's really hard not to say maybe just take rich and famous, because if I could be a great writer and just write for myself, I guess, and I more or less did that with my last novel. I've really dragged my feet on getting that published just because I got it done and weirdly didn't need anybody to read it, and I had never had that before. So like I don't know, like maybe at this point in my life I would take I know how good of a writer I am.
Well, you could always
maybe I would take that. I don't know.
You're like, I've got that confidence.
Famous.
Or arrogance, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, what were we gonna say, DJ?
I was saying you could always potentially be posthumously famous.
Well, sure. But
if you were a really great writer and like your family published your work after you died, that's a potential.
Right, but if in a positive way my tree falls and I'm too dead to hear that happen.
Aren't there like 5 Girl with the Dragon Tattoo books or something like that? There were like a few of those written after that author died, I want to say.
Well, sure, but that happens with anything that gets popular now, right? Like,
that's true.
We're still publishing Dune books.
Poor guy.
I don't think most real Dune fans read those, even if they're really good. And I know Kevin J. Anderson has written some of those, and he's a wonderful writer, and I like him a lot. But I don't know if those are any good.
Thomas Ledbetter, based on your Superman answer, if you were Sam Wilson, would you carry the shield? Does the powers or lack thereof in Cap's case change your answer?
Well, it might in a practical way, because I thought that thing was heavier than it seems to be.
Thought you need super strength.
I really did, but that does not seem to be the case with Falcon or Walker. But yeah, I don't know. It would really just depend on the circumstances. Like,
Galactus would have to come back, and then that would make more sense.
Yeah, I guess it would. I don't know why you saying that led me to this answer, Aaron. But I guess it would. I guess it would depend on how important I thought that symbol was to what's happening right now, regardless of who is carrying it. I guess that's the thing, and that's kind of the question at the beginning of that show, right? It's is it about the symbol, or is it about the man that wore it, and does it mean the same thing if he is gone? But it's kind of like that, Dark Knight Rises. Not that I think that film was great or anything, but it's kind of like that Dark Knight Rises Batman thing, where it made an okay case at the end for somebody else could maybe put that suit on, and you're never going to be exactly the same kind of hero, but that doesn't mean that the symbol isn't so important, maybe. And then again, maybe you need something else entirely. So yeah, I can't answer that for Sam Wilson, the character, because I am really kind of befuddled and bewildered about what that what that show thinks it's saying and what it's getting at right now. And we're going to talk about that on Sunday with the spoiler cast for that. I'm going back and doing a second watch right now. But for myself, yeah, it would just depend on circumstances, I think.
Lewis Cox, what fictional universe would all of you live in?
This is similar to the RPG one, but maybe
way more
wider.
broad. Yeah. Jeez.
What fictional universe? Probably one where, I was either a great writer or I had all the money.
That's really easy for me. It would be
it's
tied. It would either be the Powerpuff Girls universe or the Tick universe.
Okay. But why?
Because both of those things are so much more fun than the world I live in.
This is true.
I would want to live in one of those universes knowing that it was a satire. Because your life would not be as much fun if you didn't realize what the world was making fun of in the first place. But like if I got like Ben Edlund is writing about the absurd mundanities of life, and I was living in that world, every day would be hilarious, and I would love that. If I was actually earnestly like Arthur living in that world, it would suck. It would be the worst. So.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stick with my Pokemon answer and live in the Pokemon world, because like all of those worlds are so specific. You would never interact with any of the superheroes or anything, but everyone can interact with Pokemon because they're literally everywhere, and they conveniently never kill any humans in that world. So
that's very convenient, and they also don't mind being trapped in little balls.
Exactly, they like it.
I somehow like it.
And I've been asked this before a few different times, and usually my answer, and DJ, I always feel the need to do this. This is going to be somewhat of a joke. Usually my answer is the Star Trek universe, because we're more enlightened and we're not about just ourselves and the pursuit of things anymore. And it would be nice to live in a world with replicators and transporters, assuming that you didn't get merged with someone else or split into two. But the problem is, at this point, I would be worried that Star Trek might live long enough to see itself become Discovery. So,
you wouldn't live that long. That's way, way in the future.
No, I was thinking about something.
It's loopy. It's way in the past.
Oh, no, that's right.
I was thinking about something that had a crossover with Star Trek, at least in the comics, which was Doctor Who. I could be down with. What's that?
That is a terrible crossover, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't explored that. Well, there's a worse crossover, which was I don't know. Star Trek crossed over with a children's show in the 90s.
The Wiggles?
No, it was.
What are you talking about?
I'm not kidding. I have to remember what the Small World was. It Small World? Yeah, there was a crossover. Anyways, I would do Doctor Who.
A parody? I don't think it was like an actual legitimate crossover.
Well, the character from this show got transported to the bridge from Star Trek, Next Generation, and they actually had the rights because it was Paramount, and they used the actual lot.
Well, sure, but they used that set for lots of stuff. Like, yeah,
it's canon,
not like
okay?
It counted in Trek canon.
It's canon to me. It's head canon. So Doctor Who. I said Doctor Who just because Doctor Who has kind of the maybe not multiverse concept. Maybe it does, but he or she is constantly going to different places and planet hopping and time hopping, and I'm kind of down for that. So
my head would explode trying to make that, trying to make all that make sense in my
would
brain.
You get? Would you just get bored from all the choice? It's like when you have too many choices, you just kind of get bored, and you're like, I'm just gonna sit here in my TARDIS and not do anything.
Yeah, I would live in the Hitchhiker world before I would live in the Doctor Who world. Although I also think that those very easily could have been at some point said to be the same thing, and always kind of wanted that to happen.
Yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is kind of dark though. If you
so is Doctor Who.
Kind of. Oh, they're both dark. Kind of like what you were saying earlier, where it's like if these characters were, if these characters were actually aware. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying Adams had so much influence on Doctor Who, and he was so much of an architect for that and his own thing that they very easily could have existed in the same universe.
Yeah, I could believe that.
Super Billy back again. If you could produce a Mortal Kombat show, who would helm it? Not helmet. Who would helm it?
Who would wear a helmet? Well, Cabal.
Yeah. Cabal would be good. I don't really know who's a really good showrunner right now, to be honest. Who's the best? I mean, so an easy answer would be well, depending on who you ask, The Mandalorian is an entertaining show. And I don't know. I'm thinking who really gets Mortal Kombat, right? Who as a showrunner would actually get it?
I mean,
because I feel like I just watched the movie and I feel like somebody. No, I know where it's the guy was like, "Oh, well, I get Mortal Kombat," but it was you didn't put a tournament in the movie. Kind of missing the plot there. So yeah, I'm kind of at a loss for who should run this show, other than maybe someone who has really good martial arts background.
Yeah, I was
but also has a good storytelling background.
What's that Warrior show? It's called Warrior on HBO Max. It's supposed to be really good. It's based on a script or an idea that Bruce Lee wrote back in the day, and it's supposed to have really, really good fight scenes. I haven't watched it yet, but apparently that's good. Whoever's making Warrior on HBO Max or HBO.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I've got HBO Max. I should check that out.
Yeah, I think this is difficult because there's been so much throwback to Kung Fu stuff lately that's just been lame and doesn't look great. And so it's who's been doing that really authentically and well outside of animation? And not a lot of people lately. I'm sure a lot of people would go to the guy who made that fan film years ago that kind of got live action Mortal Kombat back in people's purviews again, made people interested in that again, and he did a mini-series thing that was kind of a TV show, and I've not seen that, so I don't know if you gave that guy the budget for a legit HBO level Mortal Kombat show, if he would know how to make it, because I've not seen his stuff, but I'm sure some people would say that guy.
I think Mortal Kombat would work better as a show, though. I like that concept.
We all said that on Monday when we reviewed that movie, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's you'd have way more time to develop these characters. You could skip the X-Men Morph knockoff, the main character, who they just kind of wrote in there for no reason.
For no reason, yeah.
Yeah.
So Cinematographic somehow knows this. He says Jonathan Schropper, and I just looked it up, is the showrunner for Warrior. And Matthew Bass says Warrior is awesome. So that's my answer, even though it's very uninformed.
I may have to try that out then. I haven't seen that. Hey, DJ, how many more super chats do we have? Because we're over an hour now. Oh no. Oh no.
10.
That many?
All right, rapid fire.
You want to
Rapid fire.
Let's rapid fire it. You want to see what we can knock out in like 10 minutes?
Yeah, well, I mean, take it away, Cap. You just
timer.
answer. Lewis Cox, if you could fight in Mortal Kombat, would you? No.
No.
No, I don't know that they really want to. Who actually wants to fight to the death?
I mean, yeah, if the world is in the balance, then I guess you'd have that whole pesky responsibility thing, but...
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, is there a big purse? Is there, how much money am I getting out of it?
Is there someone else just as competent at me with the same superpowers that is more willing than me to do it?
And not a family to worry about,
Exactly.
They have to feed.
At that point, it becomes, how many kids do you have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have the most, Cap.
I'm going to always win then.
Super Billy, if you could, which fear would you purge yourself of?
Public speaking.
Yeah, that's...
Absolutely. I do this for a living, and I still get nervous. 12 years into this. That is my answer.
The fear of rejection. That's a big one. Yeah, and it's like
help with public speaking also.
So is your fear of rejection the reason you would choose just be a great writer?
You just keep, and it's just like writing music. You just keep doing it over and over and over and over again until you get better and people start liking it more, and you don't have to worry about feedback as much. You have that confidence that you were talking about, where it's just like, I finished a video game soundtrack, and I don't have to be like sending it to 20,000 people and be like, is this good? Is this like having that confidence, like knowing, like you were saying with your book, like, no, I know this is good. I know my ability. But yeah, it's that fear of like...
Yeah, and even not necessarily like, I know this is good, but like, I'm satisfied in just the doing of it.
Yes.
Like, I just needed to do it. It didn't even matter what the quality of it was. I happen to be quite proud of that novel, but like, I just needed to get it out of me. And that's all that mattered. And it was out. And then I was done. And then people were like, where is it? And I'm like, oh, I guess people want to read this. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, and I never had that attitude before. I always needed, I don't even want to say validation, but just the, I would be more motivated to do creative things by knowing that somebody else cared.
Yeah, that's true. Because sometimes you do art because of what other people think, and sometimes you do it for yourself. Yeah. And it's reaching that point that could be tricky.
For me, it's so awesome that we're all artists and we're talking about this, but for me, it's less a fear of rejection, because I don't really care what other people think, but it's more of a fear of less than perfection, because I'm a perfectionist and I never want to release anything because I'm never satisfied.
You've got to live up to your own standards.
Yeah, and I'm like, but then I just end up never releasing anything, and I just need to get it out there, and then I can tweak it later if I want to, or just move on to the next project, and that's my problem.
Can I ask you a relatively self-indulgent question? Has DJ working on stuff for the channel helped you with that a little bit?
100%.
Because
I have no choice. I have very strict deadlines because the show's coming out tonight, whether the thumbnail's done or not. So
we'll find out this morning. This news came out. We need a thumbnail for it. DJ has got an hour to make it. If he doesn't like it, it doesn't matter. It's going up. Like,
no, it's been great, and I've loved working on the channel for that reason, and just to keep my skills honed, because I'm working in UX right now, which is a different field, and I haven't been doing a lot of graphic design stuff. So just keeping my Photoshop skills up instead of Adobe XD has been awesome, just to have something to work on.
Extra portfolio too.
Yeah, and I've actually, because I've been shoving that out on my website recently, because I haven't updated my website in 4 years, and it's just it's nice to have those just to put on there, just to have something finished.
And we'll have to show you that, Aaron, because his work, especially for Marvel Mania, has been unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm down to check it out.
He tends to make the most complex and exciting thumbnails for movies he doesn't like. Which is really it seems like the most dynamic ones are the ones that he doesn't even want to have to watch.
Like something that Frank Miller directed? Is it like that type of movie?
No, I mean, we're talking about like the last 14, 15 Marvel and Fox X-Men movies, but like things that we just don't care for. Like the Thor Ragnarok one was one of the best ones. We
That's
don't
true.
like that
People
movie,
like that one.
at all. So yeah, it's hilarious.
Speaking of things I don't like at all, 5590 ERS, 199 Green Ranger or White Ranger. Neither.
Ooh.
Get rid of both of them.
He has, so Aaron, you probably don't know this, but DJ and I, and we're on a hiatus right now. We're planning on bringing it back, but Power Rangers isn't streaming anywhere right now. We've been doing commentaries on all of Power Rangers, and we want to do everything. And that's where DJ starts on the channel. A few years ago, he and I were doing live commentaries on that show, and we got up through half a turbo. And so DJ and I are nutty Power Ranger fans, and that's our big fandom together. But yeah, aesthetically, it's always been White Ranger for me. I love that suit, and that's the thing that got me into Power Rangers in the first place. Was that era.
Cool.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I have spotty memory. I remember watching a lot of Power Rangers, but I also remember a lot of my older brothers, or one of them, like, would just cut the TV off and be like, Power Rangers is lame, and then like they would watch something else or cut it off. I'm like, okay. So like I have this weird nostalgia for it, but at the same time it's very spotty because I didn't get to watch a lot of it as a kid.
Oh, I can get you back into Power Rangers.
No,
I bet.
Run away.
Now I'm full on for the cheese. Like, bring all the cheese you can. I am here for it. You know, I was too cool for school as a kid, but now I'm just like, rebel in that stuff.
Well, here we go. John Kelling. I want a Slurpee now. Favorite flavor of Slurpee? I've never heard Slurpee. When I was up north, we called them slushies, and now that I'm down south, we call them ices. I've never heard Slurpee.
Slurpee was the thing if you went to a 7-Eleven, which is it's a similar thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would say it's not PC to say it, but I would say the suicide, which is you mix all the flavors together, which was kind of the go-to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Aaron likes to live dangerously.
I like the ones that let you do Coke just as the flavor.
You know, just do Coke.
Not do Coke.
Oh, that's the quote in all the comments. Cap says, no, just do Coke.
Cap recommends doing Coke. Anyway, all right, moving right along then. And Aaron, we'll see you in another 8 to 12 months, buddy.
Yep, that's about 10 lines away.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Oh, this has gotten to an After Dark place already. Okay.
Philip Kelton, he's answering one from earlier. Venom. He went from villain to anti-hero to hero.
Yeah.
That actually happened.
That's true. Although, I mean, in kind of a roundabout way, because I haven't finished the Kate's run, but like where I was in that, I still wouldn't call Eddie Brock a straight-on hero at that point. He's certainly closer. But like once we've got Venom as like a real, honest god, bona fide superhero, it's a different character. I mean, that is the Flash Thompson Venom. So you're cheating a little bit there. I'm not complaining. That stuff is wonderful. But I wouldn't have thought of that as an example exactly because, I mean, I guess the symbiote as a character, sure, but yeah.
TH1, or no, sorry, Philip Kelton. How would you make Galactus relevant commentary?
Oh, I don't have time for this.
Deep dive. You can pull out the lore book.
I need time to consider that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, DJ.
No, go ahead.
No, did you have a thing? What were you gonna say?
No, I didn't have a thing. I just had a stupid joke.
Galactus kind of beyond time, though.
Well, sure, but that doesn't mean that you can't use him for relevant social commentary, and of course, and I mean I talk about this all the time, but Silver Surfer Parable certainly does that. In having a clearly not actual real god that shows up and is a godlike being that people immediately worship because it's power and they want something to tell them how to live their lives. plenty of real life, real world parallel to that, where people just follow something or someone with power, no questions asked. You can also, and the danger of that. Everybody should read Silver Surfer Parable. Everybody, I think it's essential reading, whether you like comics or not. It's one of, if not Stan Lee's best achievements in my mind. But you can also use Galactus as I'm coming up with this on the spot, so let me try to get my words together and see if I can articulate this. But he can be like a metaphor or a stand-in for consumption, consumerism. He's like consumerism itself. Sometimes to people feels like, or this can be used as an excuse for the way like moguls and people use consumerism, where it's a force of nature. And it's just business, and we can't help ourselves. And of course, we're just going to consume and eat up everything, and take everyone's everything. So yeah, there's lots of stuff you can do with Galactus. Jedi Knight said addiction, yeah, and the way addiction ruins other people, and the way in which you don't care about that in the moment because you just need your next fix. I mean, and it feels like when you're addicted, especially to substances, it's a matter of survival. So like even if it isn't, even if you won't die if you don't get your next thing, like Galactus, has to eat planets all the time. It feels that way. I mean, there's three right there. There's a lot. Galactus is weirdly versatile with social commentary.
I know we're crunched for time, but I have to mention Adam March just wrote, "Parable is excellent," and the chat blocked it.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Can we not use the word parable? Is that because there's parables in the Bible? Is that offensive? I don't understand.
Like you said black again.
Parable is excellent. Held for review. All right, TH1. Because the Holocaust so long ago, would you retire Magneto if you could, or just change his backstory?
We've talked about this one before. I think there's a lot of different ways you can handle that. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to have that story taking place, now in present day, it's getting a little bit silly for him to be a Holocaust survivor. I think you just have to come up with something more recent that to give him his tragic background, or you do the Steve Rogers thing and you freeze him in ice, or you put him in cryostasis, or you make it time travel. It's really the only thing you can do now. We've been talking about this a lot lately. This and the Robin of the Circus thing. Just all of these outdated things that we're stuck with because they're iconic.
Golden
Mr. Roboto, it is time for Mortal Kombat. Battle begin. I don't know if he's trying to rush us into the next.
Spell me with a K. Yeah,
video?
Yeah. He's really excited to get to that movie, and I am too. How many more super chats do we have?
3.
Okay, let's knock them out.
Nice.
I got you for 3 questions. Bob the Hun, remember when you, Eric, and Manos made a graphic novel? Is there anywhere you can still get it? I'm pretty sure I'm not crazy.
We did not make a graphic novel, so maybe.
Well, you're crazy, Bob.
No, I'm kidding. No, years ago, what you might be remembering is, and this was like nearly a decade ago now. Eric did a self-published book of short stories. He had planned on making it like an ongoing magazine, and I and a few other people contributed stories to it. That might be what you're thinking of. And then Manos has a I don't know if he's doing it anymore, but he had his own comic, but we didn't contribute to that, so yeah.
All right, JJI, if you could go into your body Days of Future Past style at the point of when you were just about to make the channel, what would you do?
Leave myself alone, make sure it all worked out the same way, probably. I mean, I would maybe give myself a couple of pieces of advice, but then some of that would mean that I right now would have to decide just how much more successful I would want to be at this. You know what I mean? Like, I could go back in time and give myself the like try to give myself the lessons that would probably get me to, you know, a bigger subscriber base on YouTube now. There's some different choices I could have made. I might not have ended up with this community, and that would be bad. So, like, I've always gone back and forth. Like, you know, there's a part of me where it would have been cool to get to 100,000 or 500,000 subscribers. It's not all about numbers for me. And so I don't know if it would be smart to go back and give myself advice of that kind. I would maybe, although I would maybe say, like, don't stretch yourself too thin.
Yeah, that's good for anybody, because
Sure.
I know for, like, podcast wise, starting out, it was okay. We've got to do 2 podcasts a week or 3. You know, like, it was every week. There's so much content, but then, you know, as our families grew, it got to be like, okay, we need to slow down just a little bit, and it is so true where you can get spread thin if you've got your if you just have too many projects going on all at once.
And you can burn out on anything. That's another thing that I've. It doesn't matter how much you love something. It is always possible to burn out on it, which might sound you know, bleak or cynical or something, but it's true. I mean, like, you can always have too much of a good thing, and you know, I wouldn't tell myself to not make Spawn Year, but I would tell myself to pace myself, and you're not going to get it done in a year. I was never going to get that done in a year. I thought I could.
Spawn 3 year? I don't know.
It was more like Spawn Year in 10 months. Yeah. I had it done by October of 14. I started it in January of 13.
It's close enough.
But it didn't matter because the story itself took place over a year, and I got all the episodes out. They just didn't land on the days they were supposed to. In a way, I was trying to make my own 24, where it starts, you know, like a season of 24 starts at, like, you know, whatever season it is, 7 a.m., ends at 7 a.m. I was trying to have each day land on the actual days. And I managed it for, like, I don't know, 100 and something days. I mean, I did it for a good third of the project. But then the material got really, really crappy. And me and everybody else got tired of Curse of the Spawn. I blame Curse of the Spawn more than anything.
Mr. Roboto, what about a Mortal Kombat Striker trilogy?
I don't know enough about that character.
The only Mortal Kombat game I've played is Armageddon, which is like the Wii version, and I actually like Striker on that. Striker was cool.
He started out in 3. He kind of looks like your average white guy.
He's just like a ninja.
He's like an everyman. He's kind of like they put an everyman in Mortal Kombat, and he's got, I can't remember. I want to say he had like a backwards cap on. But
I thought he was like a military dude.
And the Wii version, he was like a military guy.
Yeah. Oh,
he had like nightsticks that like shot people.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He looked a little more average to me in 3, but then they kind of.
Striker.
I mean, Cap would love a Striker trilogy, just not that Striker.
Oh yeah, I take a Striker.
You know, there was speaking of MK spin-offs, there was something called MK Girls that was supposed to come out, which was so weird. It was going to be a WB cartoon aimed at kids.
Really?
And it was going to.
Yeah, wait, aren't all the girls in MK like wearing bikinis, basically?
Well, they probably just wouldn't. I mean, they don't do that anymore anyway. Like, Mortal Kombat 11 took all that away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like, no, let's take Melina and Katana and Sonya Blade, and let's put them in a kid-friendly supervillain thing, right? Put them in clothes, hopefully.
That's insane.
Yeah, you can find that if you search on the internet. You'll find something called MK Girls.
Oh, be very careful when searching.
Yes, be very careful.
When was that being pitched?
This would have been sometime in the 90s, I want to say, or the late 90s.
If it's late 90s, I'm going to blame
late
Powerpuff
90s, early
Girls
2000s.
for that. I guarantee you Powerpuff Girls is the reason that happened.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And then the last one, Philip Kelton, Magneto doesn't age because mutants.
Oh. Well, you could come up with some BS explanation for Magneto just not aging. You could just be like, he's controls metal, something, he doesn't age.
I was going to say
that makes sense, but you can just write it in there.
I was gonna say, and everyone might hate this, but it just came to me. It would be really cool to do a Magneto who doesn't age, but a Professor X who has to be younger because he would age, and having their relationship be more of like a mentor relationship because he's a little older than Professor X,
that.
and then it goes bad. That would be cool.
I really like that. Yeah, because that plays into Professor X's initial naivety, and also being, and you could have kind of, in a good way, like a Clark Lex thing going on with that too, and then it would give you a really great place for the Professor X moral ambiguity to come from. If Magneto is his mentor. Yeah, that stuff writes itself. That's a wonderful idea.
There you go.
Never
we'll end
thought
on
of that. That's fantastic, DJ.
But that is all the super chats we have.
All right, well, folks, sorry we went late tonight, and I especially sorry to DJ that we went late tonight, but thanks so much for keeping us going, and Aaron, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Hope you had a good time. It's hard to do just an hour when I got Aaron Hickman, but it's amazing that we kept it to as short even as we did.
And amazing that we got a nice Coke reference in there. That's always great.
Yes. Say, you know that famous actor, Michael Caine? You know how to pronounce his name?
Yes,
I do.
I'm not going to, but
Of course you're not. But you know.
Michael Coke. Anyway, well, folks, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. We are going to take a 10 to 15 minute break and come back on Patreon for Captain Logan After Dark. And like I said earlier, we're going to be watching Mortal Kombat Annihilation. We're going to do a blind commentary on that. I've never seen it, and looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun, I am sure. So watch it with me, won't you? Consider doing that. If you're not a Patreon. If you're not a patron already, go to patreon.com/geekvolution. Just the $2 tier gets you access to that. At any tier, you can join us for those live shows. We do those twice a month. And then the other big thing to look out for next up on the channel is Sunday night. Like I mentioned earlier, the Falcon Winter Soldier spoiler cast, and then Monday night. Tuesday night is then the last episode for the foreseeable future for Marvel Mania. And then if all things go according to plan, next Sunday night will be the Season 2 Simpsons discussion with me and Austin. So lots of stuff going on. Look forward to it. And also, I should plug this real quick too. Aaron is going to join us for a Simpsons discussion down the road because we're going to take a break from the seasons after Season 3, and we're going to do 8 and 16-bit video games. And we're going to bring Aaron on for that. So we're looking forward to that. I have compiled a list of all the stuff that came out through the 90s, and we're gonna sample all that stuff and have some categories like we are with the regular show. Thanks to everybody, by the way, that has watched that first episode. That went far better than expected, and we are really, really stoked and excited to keep making those for you. I'm sorry, Aaron, what were you saying?
No, you're good. You're good. I was just saying Simpsons video games quality is wildly divergent between different games.
We're gonna have to play some really, really bad and really mediocre things.
Yes.
But at least there's the arcade game.
Yeah, there's always the arcade game. Always go back to that.
Thanks again, folks. That was Captain Logan and a special guest Aaron Hickman. With not as special guest DJ Martinez.
Nah.
But quite special producer and everything else he does here. Anyway, we'll see you again in 15. Later, folks.
Your heart when you care.
Oh, you made it.
If you
made it through.
only see the way
Too bad.
she loves me.